Кататься без ультраси на Олимпиаде совершенно не имеет никакого смысла.
Terry Tuppard stated that there's no point in her student Adelia Petrosyan competing at the Olympics without Ultra-C elements. RIA Novosti Sport reports on the level of danger for the three-time Russian Olympic champion in Italy.
Потому что мы будем начинать с первой разминки, у нас нет рейтинга.
Before watching, please subscribe to the channel. You'll always have news about figure skating here. Thank you for subscribing. Ultra-C elements have always been considered the main strength of the only Russian participant in the Olympic women's single skating. There was a time when Petrosyan performed both a quadruple loop and a quadruple flip, but recently she's settled on two elements of increased difficulty: a triple axel and a quadruple toe loop. Importantly, only the triple axel can be performed in the short program. Quadruple jumps in women's competitions are only permitted in the free skate. But everything changed when Petrosyan suffered an injury. Because of this, she was forced to undergo treatment during the off-season instead of fully training. Tuppard has previously revealed that there was a moment when Adelia considered withdrawing from the Olympic qualifying round and was only stopped by the fact that Alina Gorbacheva, the Russian alternate qualifier for the Games, was also experiencing health issues.
Нет рейтинга.
In an interview with ACO, Coach Petrosyan added some shocking details.
Между короткой с лидерами и нами. Большая эмоциональная нагрузка на Аделии Petrosyan.
We were dealing with the injury that we had when it seemed we wouldn't be able to skate at all, Tuppard admitted. Then they allowed us to skate, but it turned out we didn't have consistent triple jumps. And all of this was in a panic. Adelia eventually regained her triple jumps in time for the Olympic qualifying tournament in Beijing, which took place in September, and won. However, there were only two serious competitors there: Belgium's Luna Hendricksi and Georgia's Anastasia Gubanova. Neither of them is likely to be medal contenders at the Olympics. Petrosyan's scores, however, are comparable to those of these skaters. This means that the Russian figure skater needs additional advantages to compete for the podium at the Games in Italy. Unfortunately, the International Skating Union, ISU, has deprived Adelia of a significant portion of these advantages. A year ago, while generously granting Russians one Olympic qualification spot in each of the four disciplines, in fact, besides Petrosyan, only Petr Gumenik was admitted, the ISU ruled that Russian figure skaters could not participate in any international competitions during the season, other than the Olympic qualifying rounds and the Olympics themselves. At that moment, amidst the joy of at least some admission, not everyone immediately realized that this clause was a key one that could deprive Russian competitors of any tangible chances for Olympic medals. The logic here isn't so obvious to fans who follow figure skating from Olympic to Olympic, but it's perfectly clear to those who are deeply involved in the sport. The so-called components, the second evaluation of a skater's performance, once called artistic, tend to increase from competition to competition throughout the season. From one Category B tournament to the next, from the first Grand Prix stage to the second, and so on. The components traditionally reach their peak values at the Olympic Games and World Championships. Petrosyan and Gumenik's disqualification could have been appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, as several other Russian federations have done, and the lawsuit could have been won. Then, Russian skaters would have progressed before the eyes of foreign judges, and their scores would have similarly improved. But since the disqualification remains, Russian athletes are forced to continue to simmer in the domestic Russian cauldron. And the scores they receive there have little significance for international judges. They'll likely focus on the scores the Russian skaters earned at their only competition abroad, the Olympic qualifying event in Beijing. There, Adelia scored 209.63 points, only 10th on the season's list. In terms of components, Petrosyan wasn't even the strongest at that competition. And there's no reason to believe the judges will be generous enough to award a higher second score at the Olympics. Finally, there's another, no less important factor against the Russian participants in the Games. Starting lists are determined by ISU rankings, and Petrosyan and Gumenik lack one due to a nearly 4-year ban. This means that in the short program, Russian skaters will have to compete in the first group of competitors, alongside representatives from countries where, to put it mildly, they don't know how to skate at all. Following the same logic outlined above, Russian athletes shouldn't expect high component scores in such company. So, it turns out that the only way for Petrosyan to establish herself as a medal contender is to excel in the short program with technical elements that her rivals lack. Until recently, the triple axel would have fit this category. But recently, several foreign skaters have been landing it with considerable consistency. American Amber Glenn and Japanese Ami Nakai are among those who could be named here, and recently, the current world champion from the United States, Alyssa Liu, who mastered this jump as a junior, posted a video of her triple axel. Nevertheless, Adelia has no other option but to perform the triple axel cleanly in her short program at the Olympics. Only then will she be able to reach the top group in the free skate, where she will compete for medals. This is certainly understood by both the skater herself, who is aiming for Olympic gold, it's on her smartphone wallpaper, and her coach. Skating at the Olympics without the Ultra C makes no sense, Petraian stated. We'll be starting in the first warm-up, we have no ranking, and we won't have anything particularly noteworthy. There are no jumps, except the triple axel, that would cover the difference in components between the leaders and us. What are Adelia's chances of successfully executing a short program with a triple axel at the Olympics? Certainly, they're realistic. At the Russian Championships in St. Petersburg, the skater performed well with this element. But Petraian admits the Petrosyan hasn't yet achieved consistency with the Ultra C. The triple axel, I'd say, is a jump that comes and goes for us. It comes and goes for us. At the Russian Championships, it came and went for us in the short program, and it came and went for us in the free skate, but it drained all of our remaining energy for the quadruple toe loops, the coach stated, referring to Adelia's poor performance on the second day of competition. For this reason, Petraian adds that there's no final decision yet on the program structure. If the axel remains a key jump, then we'll probably focus on quadruple toe loops, the specialist noted. However, she's apparently referring to the number of Ultra C elements in the free program. In the short program, where quadruples aren't included, she'll still have to take a risk with the triple axel. If the risk pays off, Petrosyan will be among the intermediate leaders, which will give her tactical flexibility in the free program. And then, if she's not 100% confident in the triple axel, a program with 2 quadruple jumps would be a viable option. With these jumps, the Russian skater could compensate for her lag in components compared to her Japanese and American competitors. But a clean performance is essential. There likely won't be any other options. Amidst all the various Olympic scenarios, one thing is clear. In the coming month, Petrosyan will continue the process of reintroducing Ultra C elements. And which jumps the figure skater will perform at the Olympics, she and her coaches will decide once they are ready.
Adelia.
María no ven, ¿quién soy yo? Yo soy María. De Buenos Aires, María, yo soy.